So hello everybody. Well, to you how my name is William, and you can also call me Nas Duke or yeah. When I play my Unreal games, yeah, and also and then William is my matter name, yeah. Okay, now today I'm gonna be talking about what does the Bible say about mass shootings. Here it is, right here. All right. Now, so I guess I have to talk about that today. Well, because Matt Powell is talking about it, that's why I'm talking about it too. Now, I've been learning about it here in the U.S., but I haven't been that, but I haven't been at, but it hasn't happened to any school that I went to in the U.S. Even though, well, I live in California, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen there anyway, so. There's a Wikipedia page about the mass shootings in the U.S. And if you want to learn about this, you can, oh, it wants me to sign here. That's fine. That's fine, I'll do that. Okay. Well, you can read this as C. Well, you can read about this as C. Is it CNN.com? Yeah, yeah, Cable News Network. And you can read about the mass shootings that are in the U.S. Oh. Come on, why you guys keep showing me phones and watches? Yeah, it says, yeah, so 608 across 44 states and Washington, D.C. Yeah. All right. Now, all right. So this is when talking about this. All right. Now, we need to go so far as now. The reason I'm talking about this is because of CCP shills. Now, I live in the U.S. I'm still alive, and I'm trying to be, and I'm a nice guy, you know. I'm not, I I'm just a Christian I'm just a Bible believing Christian who reads the Bible and believes in Jesus and likes to play video games, like Unreal Gold, Unreal Tournament, Tonalation, and Tonalation of Kingdoms. But there's other things we have to learn about here, and this is now. Why do I hate mass shootings when it comes to? Well, because because shootings in real life is not like a video game. You know, I knew I do a lot of shooting at Unreal Tournament and Unreal Gold Unreal Tournament because that's first of all, Unreal Gold, Unreal Tournament are just games, and they're first-person shooting games I like to play. I have them, but yeah. I kind of play those games right here, so. But the problem is that But these mass shootings, I don't like this. I hate this. And this is the reason why I believe that people in the U.S., I think the reason why I believe in Christians should homeschool their children so they don't get killed. You know, that's why. And where does mass shootings are from? Atheists, really. They just ask people that are Christian, they just kill them. Now, I never had this happen to me at all. You know, because it's something I never even happened. But what happens if it does happen when I'm around? Well, that's a good question. So, look, if there's a guy that's just shooting people because they're asking people if they're Christian or something, well, look, if someone's holding, if I was at school and someone's holding a gun at me and they ask me if I'm a Christian, I'm not going to answer them. You know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? I will throw a table. I will throw a chair at them. That's what I would do because I don't tolerate that kind of behavior. I don't. You know, I hate mass shootings. You know, and the reason why I will do that because I try to do is defend myself. You know, and the reason why I will throw either a table or a chair at the guy who wants to shoot at me because if I'm a Christian or not. It's because I try to defend myself. You know? That's why. Now, defending myself is the only thing. Now, that's the thing. But what about the CP shills? Well, they know about the mass shootings in the U.S. Well, what about some people? Well, they think they can talk about the mass shootings in the U.S., but guess what? Do you think those people are doing? These CP shills are doing? Well, they're trying to get them to move to China instead. And this is just stupid. You know what? Because they think, and they're like mine, there's no mass shootings in China. Well, I want to point out until they're wrong. And here's why. Because here's why. Here, in November 20th, 2024, a surge of mass attacks have killed dozens of China in recent months. So you see, you might not have mass shootings in China, but look, in China they do mass stabbings. You see, you get this right here. In Beijing, China, dozens of people have been killed in mass attacks. So this is in primary schools. So you want to say that this doesn't happen in China? I think you're wrong. I just found this article right here, and this happened in November 20, 2024. So you can go ahead and read it to yourself. Oh yeah, look. Vehicle hits a student at Paris school gate. Stabbing kills 8 people at vocational school. Driving kills Area 5 at sports complex. Okay, 5 injured at knife attack. Knife attack at the supermarket. You see, and this is all in 2024. So this is last year, and you're going to tell me there isn't any? This is just stupid. You CCP shills. Please. You know what? And you want to believe it's just Western media talking about this? Well, to me, I think you're wrong because look. You want to believe that Western media is lying about China? You're wrong. Okay, Western media is telling the truth about China because look at this. You may not believe this. You may not believe me, but look, I'm all believing Matthew Tai and Winston Snurzel. Then you got then these stupid CCP shills. All they're doing is deceiving people. Just like people believing evolution or salvation by works. You know? And why? Look. There's a lot of, and I try to learn to hate, look, I've been learning to hate lies. You know, that's why. And saying about this, so I'm gonna have to expose these CCP shills of what they are because they're lying about China, even though they live in China. And me here in the US showing people the truth about China. See? Just because I've been looking at some articles on Google. Stupid. You see? So the ECB shows, you know what? They're stupid. And to me, I think they need Jesus. Yeah. And guess what? I hate the CCP. Anyway, since they're evil. Since that government is evil. Anyway. And yeah. So yes, China does have mass attacks, but mass stabbings. So yeah, let me tell you something. So does mass attacks happening in China? My answer is yes. Just like it happens here in the US. So yes, it happens in an autocratic country just as much happens here in a free country like the US. So I hate these shills. I hate this because I hate these lies that CPOs are saying here. Just hate that. Oh yeah. And here's the other places that of school shootings. Yeah. Scotland, that's in the UK, Yemen, Russia, Sweden, Germany, Bosnia and Canada, Argentina and other countries. Yeah. Well, you can include China to that too now. Because even though these guys want to claim there isn't. So And I know. So, so to me, there seems to be shows that are saying that mass stabbings don't happen in China, or even these mass attacks, are just liars. And they're just lying about China, even though they live in China. So, to me, so they're stupid. Anyway, you know. So here's an article called "What It's About to Say About School Shootings," or even mass shootings in general. So I'm not gonna read the whole article, but you can read it to yourself if you want to. But I will go through the Bible verses. So let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1 to 24. And don't worry. And don't worry, this was going to apply to the mass shootings that are happening in China as well, about the mass attacks, or like mass stabbings that have been happening in China as well, because we need to go what the Bible says. Because I believe the Bible. Now, what kind of shows I'm talking about? Well, Jason Lightfoot, Guelo 60, these guys. But not, these guys that live in China, but they want to do is lie about it, and say just good things about China, because and only they want to do is just lie about it. Stupid. But yeah, those people are, well, yeah. But Jason Lightfoot's British, Guido 60 is Canadian. Is there any shows in China that are American? Probably. I hate that too, but it just makes me mad when when these guys, to me, liars, makes God angry, makes me angry too, so. You know what? They're not even looking at the articles. They're just believing in lies. So. I don't know what these TV shows are doing, but I think they're looking at the wrong places for mass stabbings, or even just mass attacks in general in China. So I really don't know why they're just being this way. I hate that. So let's go through Bible verses about this. So 2 Timothy chapter 3 verses 3 to 4. All right. Okay, then also last days previous shall time come. For men that love selves and covetousness, bastard, okay, bolsters and blasphemers, disobedient to parents, thankful and holy, without knowing affection, trust breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fears, despisers, and for those that are good, traitors, and heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures, more than lovers of God. Alright. It says Proverbs. Now Proverbs chapter 11 verses Proverbs chapter 11 verse 11 to 14. Let's go to Proverbs that. Okay. But I need to learn that but we need to go through something too. What about Christians owning a weapon? Why do we believe that Christians should own a weapon? Well, defend themselves, I believe. Okay, right here. Should Christians own guns for self-defense? You can read this part here. But we need to go through Bible verses here, so let's see. For the self-defense? Well, if you want her to defend yourself and your family, should Christians own guns for self-defense and global support? Alright, so, yes, I do believe that Christians should own a weapon for self-defense. You know, like defending your family and your friends. That's true. We need to learn about. So let's go to see what it says. No sword, buy one. I believe it's the. Oh, yeah, this is okay. So here it is in Luke. So if we look to 22, and I think it's verse 36. Oh. Oh, here, it says right here. Then said unto him, but now ye that had a purse, then take it, and likewise in scrip, and he had no sword, and then sell his garment and buy one. Oh yeah, and here's 37. For I said unto you, for it must be accomplished to me, and is reckoned into good gestures, for things are constrained up to the end. And they said, Lord, behold, here are 2 swords. And he said also, is it to them, is that enough? And he cast out, and he went and the Mount of Olives, and disciples also followed him. So, this verse talking about swords, does this apply to guns that we have today? So does God want Christians to own a weapon? Well, my answer is yes, but only for self-defense. Self-defense. because we're defending against you know you're defending our family and our friends. That's why. You know, God does want Bible-believing Christians to be ready to defend themselves from bad people. That's why. You know, and here's why. Well, now what about calling the police? Well, look. Well, for these things to happen, well, first of all, calling the police and getting these people to prison, you know, well, first of all, I've been hearing about police officers getting killed from these bad guys too. And, you know, first of all, you know, if you did call the police from these guys, the best thing to do is still we have to defend ourselves. You know, we can't just call the police. You know, we may not look for these guys, for these mass shootings. You know, these bad guys. Look, there's times we may not have time to call the police. You know, that's just something you have to learn about. You know, I'm glad the United States has police. You know, but I can't just always rely upon police when it comes to handling bad guys. You know. So, all right. Now we have to go to another verse. Where it says Proverbs chapter 30, verses 11 to 14. So 30 and, what does it say? 11 to 14? Okay. Let's go do this. So there's a generation that curseth the father and doeth not bless their mother. There's a generation that pure in their own eyes and yet does not wash their filthiness. There's a generation of, oh how, of lofty their eyes and eyelids and are filled up. There's a generation of whose teeth and are swords and the Jew, teeth of their knives, and the devourer of the poor of the earth and the needy from among men. All right, so that's in the book of Proverbs. Now we can go to do is Isaiah chapter 1 verse 4. A sinful nation, a people laden in iniquity, esteemed at evildoers, children and that are corrupters, that are forsaken the Lord, they have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger, and they are gone away backward. All right. Okay, so that's fine. So that's something that we have to learn here. And then let's go to Genesis chapter 6, verse 11 to 13. This is talking about the global flood of Noah. Here, it says right here, the earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, that it was corrupt, for our flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. God said unto Noah, the end that all flesh has become before me, and the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. And me thinking right now, why do I throw, now, for self-defense, if I would, but why do I think throwing a chair or a table at the bad guy that's holding a gun would be a good idea? Well, because I don't want to tolerate that behavior, and he's going to kill me just because I said yes and I'm a Christian. I'm not going to tolerate that behavior. I'm just going to be bad to him because I don't want to get killed. That's why. And I need to do what I can to defend myself, right? So that's why. If someone's holding a gun at me and they ask me if I'm a Christian, what I'm going to do is, throw a chair or a table or a desk at them, and just because I don't tolerate that behavior, because if they want to kill me just because I'm a Christian, I'm just going to do is defend myself. If they ask me that, just because if they're just going to ask me if I'm a Christian and kill me, and if they say yes, that's just very stupid. Because I don't tolerate that behavior. I don't. Now let's go read Luke chapter 17 verses 26 to 30. Yeah, Luke chapter 17 it says. And they're looking for 26. Alright, so here. And the sons of days of Noah, so it's the sons of days of Son of Man. They did eat, and they drank, and they married wives, and they are given in marriage until the day of Noah, and they entered the ark. Okay, sorry. And the flood came and destroyed them all. And likewise also the days of the Lot. They did eat and they drank, and they bought, they sold, and they planted, and they builded. Okay, they came the same day of Lot, and went out to Sodom, and rained fire and brimstone from heaven, and destroyed them all. And the day of the Son of Man is revealed. Well, Sodom. Okay, well, that's talking about Sodomites. But, well, you're thinking, are some of these people doing the mass shootings? Are some of these people homosexuals then? You might be asking too. You can let me know in the comments below about that. YouTube does not want you to talk about homosexuals because, or sodomites, or whatever, because, YouTube wants to, you know, give me a strike on and remove the video just because of that. So, yeah, I know YouTube does not want me to say anything bad about those people because they think it's hate speech. So, but I wonder if these people are doing the mass shootings. But I wonder if these people that are doing the mass shootings are the ones that are homosexuals. That's what I'm guessing anyway. But I'm just guessing anyway. Because it says but here in the Bible it says Sodom, and you know. Here it says evil influence will corrupt children. Well, that is true. That's what we should. That's why we need to. That's why I believe homeschooling children is probably the best. Is probably a better idea. Let's go read Mark chapter 4 verses 24. And I'll read the whole verse. And said to him, take heed and what ye hear. What measure ye mete, and it will be measured to you. And unto you that ye shall more be given. Now we can go to Psalm chapter 101, verses 3 to 4. Alright, it says right here. I will set no wicked before my eyes, and I hate the work of them, and I turn aside, and they should not cleave to me. For I forward that shall hard to depart from me, and I know not a wicked, and I would not know a wicked person. Alright, let's go to Isaiah chapter 33, verses 15. He that walketh righteously and speaketh uprightly, he that despiseth the gain oppressions and shaketh his hands from the holding of tribes and stoppeth his ears from hearing the blood and shunning his eyes and seeing evil. Ugh. Let me move my tablet out of the way. There. Now, Oh yeah, yes, it shall also dwell on high, and the place of defense shall be the mentions of rocks, but rich shall be given to him, and his waters shall be sure. All right, now let's go to Exodus. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 7. All right, you listen to him. Cast away of every man the abominations of his eyes, and defile themselves with the idols of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Okay, this is talking about demonic attacks. You got it from Satan. All you read about this. Christians should pray and reach out. Okay. Now, U.S. shootings. Yeah, pretty U.S. schools abandoned, but that is true. But that's why, now war games. Well, I do play war games, but the only war games I play are Unreal Gold and Unreal Tournament. Now, I don't encourage children to play Unreal Gold and Unreal Tournament anyway. Same with Total Annihilation and Total Annihilation and Kingdoms, I don't encourage children to play this, I'm an adult playing this game because I can tolerate that. But I can tolerate that. That's why, first of all, playing war games like Unreal Gold, Unreal Tournament, for example. That's what I play. That's the game I play on my NosDude channel anyway. For example, I'm gonna use that game for example because I play that game. Because I play those games. That's why. But I play those games just for entertaining. Just for fun. Entertain me and other people. But I don't know why people are using these war games to go too far and start using it to do is and think evil thoughts and start doing mass shootings and stuff. So let's look at the games listed here. Laser Quest. Oh, and Laser Tag. Okay. Bullets that cancels red paint. Alright, so here, so target package named another for a human being. Okay. So this is talking about Laser Quest and Laser Tag. Well, I never played Laser Quest or Laser Tag, but that is another. Well, those are other war games too, besides the video game that I play. So yeah, that's going to be Romans chapter 13, verses 1 to 6. Besides the games I play, which are Unreal Gold and Unreal Tournament. But I also play Total Annihilation and then Total Annihilation and Kingdoms, That's why. Alright, let's go to Romans chapter 13, verses 1 to 6. Okay, this is for you. That every soul is subject to higher powers, and there is no power but of God. The power is of ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resteth the power, resteth the ordinance of God, and they shall receive the self-damnation. For rulers are not a terror of good works, but to the evil. Wit thou not shalt be afraid of power, and do that which is good, and they shall praise of the same. And he is ministered to God to do thee for good. If thou which is evil, be afraid, and forbeareth not the sword in vain. For if he is minister of God, revenge and execute wrath, and for him that doeth evil, therefore he must be subject, not only for wrath, but for conscience sake. For he is this cause to pay the tribute also. Whereas they are God ministers, attending continually upon this everything. Romans chapter 13, verses 1 to 6. Okay, so that's C. Okay. Well, let's go to Romans chapter 13. Here, it's here. That every soul will be subject to powers, and there's no power but God, and the power is ordained of God. Whosoever receiveth the power of ordinance of God, and he should receive themselves damnation. For the rulers of terror to good works, but to evil what thou wilt not be afraid of power, just do good, and thou shalt have praise the same. And for he is minister of God, neither thee through for good, and that thou do that which is evil, be afraid that he that beareth not the sword in vain, for he is the minister of God, and revenger of the execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Now let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1. And so therefore, first of all, the supplication of prayers, traditions, and giving of thanks, and be made for all men. Okay, let's go to John chapter 3, verse 8. Okay, then I blow it where it's listed, and thou hearest. Okay, thou hearest the sound thereof. The king has not tell it cometh, and whether it goeth. Not every one that is born of the Spirit. Okay, let's go to Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4. You shall judge among them the nations, and you shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their and their spears and burning books, and a nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither they shall learn war anymore. All right, let's go to Psalm chapter 91, verses 9 to 11. Okay, thou hast me made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High of thy habitation, and there is no evil, and there shall no evil befall thee, and neither shall any plague come high dwelling. And for he gives the angels charge over thee to keep in all thine ways. So that's it. Okay, I guess that's all the verses I was showing you. I'm not gonna read all this. I'll let you read it yourself, but I will. I'll let you read it yourself because it'll be too much for me to read. But anyway, so I guess those are the Bible verses against mass shootings and stuff, and. Alright, so let me show you guys see according to the Bible. So for any false religions that damn souls to hell. When you go to heaven, it's to believe all Lord Jesus Christ. Salvation is by faith alone, and grace in Jesus Christ alone. And once you're saved by easy is the truth, meaning you can't lose your salvation. By easy because salvation is easy to do is believe in Jesus Christ for salvation. Alright, now we're talking about the next video is called it'll be called What's about getting dressed. And then I'll talk about being barefoot and wearing shoes. The video after that. So I want to talk about getting dressed first. Okay? When we talk about that. So you just ought to get saved. The point is, okay, so The body falls into the damn soul stand. And go to your heavens, believe all Lord Jesus Christ is by faith on the grace of Jesus Christ alone. And when they say is the truth. Meaning you can't lose your salvation. By easy words, that's is easy to do is believe in Jesus Christ for salvation. Alright, on top of next video is called it's called what's supposed to be about getting dressed. On top of that next video. Okay, because I have to go right now. But thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope this video gets you to learn about shootings. I think the best thing to do is I think the best way to do is I think children should be homeschooled by their parents. I think that's my best guess. Because so that way these things can stop. So that way you won't have. So your children won't have to worry about this. That would be my best guess. You know, and plus homeschooling is legal in the U.S. in the United States of America. You know, that's why. I know it's illegal. I know homeschooling is illegal in some other countries like Germany and China, but you don't have to worry about. But that's in those. I'm talking about here in the U.S. I don't know which countries have, but if you know any other countries have homeschooling, has where you can homeschool. You can let me know in the comments below. But I do know you can do it here in the U.S. So. So to me, I believe homeschooling is just better because I don't have to worry about your children being killed by some bad person, you know. If these school shootings have been keeping happening, I think the best thing to do is I think the best thing to do is homeschool your. I think the best way to do is homeschooling children. And I'm talking to believing Christians here, you know. This will be my guess about this anyway. That's probably my best answer I can give. You know. To me, I think taking children to schools are no longer safe anymore with this thing happening. That's why. You know, anyway, I'll talk about getting dressed next video anyway, because I have to go right now. I hope this video gets you to learn about why, you know, we need to defend ourselves against bad guys, and we're against mass shootings, and, you know, and why they happen in the U.S., and also why did they happen, and also why did they happen in China as well, because they also happen in China too, not just here in the U.S. Not just here in the United States. Alright, because what do I have to say about that anyway, because I have to go right now. But thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed. So goodbye. Adios and Zaijian.